Gibson Park. You think of Tyburn as always. Then you throw in obviously McCluskey and Ballacoon for the Ulster supporters, and obviously have to get that in for you, Stu. But they were immense, and in every facet of the game, Ireland. When I say every facet, I'm talking about even from the coach's box, the animation, the drive, I know the buzzword was intent, but the intent, applauding and cheering every little battle that was won. And it was really a testament to how good a man manager and a coach Andy Farrell is to get the best out of that group, to reach that height of performance again that we probably haven't seen since it was a couple of years ago against France in that first round. And it was just a joy to watch. It really was. So very envious of anyone that was in the ground or in London.
Too right. It's funny, over the last while I've been thinking, anytime you speak to pundits, yourself, any opinions, any fans, whoever it is, there's always one team are poor and one team are great. I find that interesting. But never mind that, Ireland were just class. Yes, England mightn't have had their day, but Ireland were superb. If we go to the evidence, I don't think... I think we were a bit shocked. Maybe you weren't. I sort of want to touch back on the first question. What gave you the hope they could deliver that day? Are we just going back by 18 months in 2023, 2024? Or did you think this team was capable of one big day out and hopefully kicking them forward?
Yeah, well, it's amazing how the narratives change in professional sport week on week. And the start of this tournament, from an English perspective, you think in England are looking pretty good, and Borthwick has got the right mixture. And now, after 3 rounds, the narrative is very different. I think I've said it from the start that just going back to your question, we can't underestimate the importance of the injury list in the Irish team. Like Ireland, when you're competing, I suppose, in terms of the player pool, I'm not talking about quality, I'm talking about numbers, which probably feeds into a bit of the quality. Like Ireland is always going to be up against it in comparison to an England and France. And when you look at the names of the players, I mean, obviously the front row were identified who have actually held up really, really well. And I think that's been the big surprise. But I sort of remember saying at the start of this tournament that Andy Farrell, it might be a blessing in disguise. Actually, by the end of this, he's going to be getting a look in extreme test environments and scenarios and situations of guys that he probably didn't necessarily think he was going to. And I think that's going to be a good thing in the long run, because you're all of a sudden you're talking about guys now like, okay, I know McCluskey's 33, but he's playing his best rugby. Izuchukwu is getting a bit more exposure. Tommy O'Brien getting more exposure at international level, and that can only be to the benefit of the Irish team. But yeah, I think you granted there's a lot of players out, but there's still so many world-class players in there. You've Dan Sheehan, Tyke Byrne, Caelan Horace, they mightn't have been hitting the heights of what they have done in previous years, but when you've got that quality in you and you've got that togetherness as a squad, which they've been together for a long time, you can pull out a string of performances, or in this case, a performance, and it'll all be about now backing that up, because the narrative is completely different. Again, now going into the Wales game, but you never underestimate an international team in the Six Nations. Like I know Italy for many years have taken the brunt of the punishment, but it doesn't take too many percenters to be off, Stu, to get a 20-point victory like that. In England we're way off on so many of them, but I think that it just showed every Irish player played to the top of their ability, really, and that's a credit to obviously themselves, credit to the Andy Farrell for getting the most of them, but they obviously have that in their locker, and it just all came together on that day.
Gibson Park player of the match, phenomenal. But as you said earlier, and why not, wouldn't I, talking the Ulster boys, but McCluskey taking his game to the next level. I've always rated him, but in Ireland now it's just going up a couple of notches. And then Ballacoon, there was a while when he debuted, everyone was like, this guy's a freak, how quick he is, then hamstrings, and we maybe thought it isn't going to happen for him. But you see now, I would say, in his confidence is rocketed. He's under Andy Farrell, one of the best coaches out there. If he can stay fit, what's his ceiling? surely it could be out there as good as anyone. Yes, it might be a big statement, but certainly with ball in hand.
Yeah, I think you're looking for point of difference, aren't you? And an area of concern, I suppose, that has been flagged is pace in the Irish backline. And I suppose like the really, I suppose if we're just to pick up on two Balakoon moments, I suppose what I loved is, the scrum launch. That was a pretty simple play, getting the ball out to Balakoon as quick as possible, which led up, which just was, I suppose, such a positive statement that, Ireland are just trying to ship the ball to the wing here and get it to a guy that's got gas. And then obviously his assist with that dummy down the touchline and exposing Dingwall. And, so yeah, as you said, Stu, I mean, you've summed it up. I mean, sport is, and professional sport is, you need a bit of luck along the way, and he hasn't had that. So if he can just keep fit, he's got that point of difference of finishing ability, electric speed, power. Going back to McCluskey, yeah, like I'm thrilled for him. Like so many times, you almost don't want to think of it because, I've certainly been on the receiving end. Lots of players have, of getting that call from a coach saying, that you haven't made this squad or whatever, but he's kept chipping away, and he's getting his reward now. And yeah, you'd say he's a form back certainly in the Irish team. And he was immense, and obviously it was encapsulated by that chase down. And I know the photos have been going around social media, big smile on his face, and everyone was sort of thinking, Marcus Smith, he's gonna go here, he's just gonna go score in the corner. And because Marcus is quick, but then on that long distance, just he got the long legs going, and he got him out. So yeah, hugely pleasing, because it's obviously an area of concern. Centre, especially inside centre, Robbie Henshaw coming back from injuries in the Leinster team now, and Bundy Aki just with the age profile,
Yeah.
So definitely it's come at a really, really good time, and he's a real focal point, I think, for this Irish attack and backline now. Yeah, and listen, Gibson Park, I didn't mention him beforehand, but like the one thing I'll just quickly say on him, like, is just you could just see that he was just encouraged to play tempo, and obviously the quick tap was just looking to put England under pressure as much as possible, put their fitness levels under pressure. And yeah, he's one of the best at doing that, and was just like no fault.
It just shows how hungry, actually. You forget quickly he was left out or rested. Sorry, he was on the bench against Italy. Simple as that. So just to come back, courageous. Yes, he's probably one of the best in the world, if not outside of the pond. But these guys all want to start in.
Oh yeah, competitive environment. And like I suppose like the narrative around the Italy game now is probably not deemed as the rest game as it has been in years gone by. So was that really a tactical decision, or was it a decision on performance? And yeah, these guys are proud athletes, proud players, and obviously the environment at international level that Andy Farrell has with that. You're only renting the jersey, but when you have it, you put your best foot forward. And like there's across the board, like it's very hard to fault anyone. Like I know in the media, everyone sort of points to lots of different things, but when you get a performance like that, you're always looking at things in the background, of course, and coaches are always going to be seeing how to improve. But like it's as a complete performance as Ireland has put together in the last couple of years. So yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting listening to Simon Easterby yesterday saying you're never as good as what people think, and you're never as bad as what the outside think. But straight back to it, that's the bar set now. So
yeah,
they've hit it, so they need to raise it again against Wales.
Yeah, and as I said, completely different narrative, and I suppose good that wasn't there an under-20s training session that they did together at the Aviva, and that's good as well, because that's just sort of bouncing off the energy, and probably nobody expected the 20s as well to put up a score that they did against the English 20s, and it was quite similar actually in terms of maybe not the dynamic and the flow of the game, the 20s and the seniors one, but just how Ireland were just physically dominant, and just in most of the facets of play, they just look comfortable and confident. And I think that's good now, just for a bit of momentum and feeding off each other. And I'm sure 20s results like that are always promoted by Andy Farrell, I'm sure, within the group. And That's, I suppose, good for guys going forward and competing. But yeah, it's listen, players will park that, and they're just on to the next challenge. And the next challenge is obviously completely different with Wales, where they're at, and they'll be distraught after being 25 up against Scotland and losing it. And I suppose pundits afterwards, talking about how good it was to have the Millennium Stadium full again. And, that's, I suppose, it is good, but that's not what you want to associate Welsh rugby. That was sort of the talk that would have been around when I was playing. And when you're on the bus, driving to the game, and there's more away jerseys than the home jerseys. Like, Wales, the competition needs Wales, and, it's obviously going to be a hard task for them. All the momentum is with Ireland, and but I'm sure Farrell will have them in the right frame of mind for it. But it'll be interesting to see what changes, if any, they go with. It's very hard whenever you get such a consistency of performance like that from the players. So I think there's a few positions that maybe were a bit question mark, or this is your chance, that they've certainly been nailed down for the next game.
Just on Andy Farrell, there's rumours circulating around that Saracens are interested. They've obviously distanced themselves. He's a contract up till Australia in 2027 in the World Cup. His stock, not that it needed to after the weekend, has gone back up if the outside had dropped it slightly in. How big a loss would he be for Ireland? But also, he came here first with Munster in 2016, then went Irish team a couple of months later in the backroom staff defence sort of way in there, and then worked his way up under Joe Schmidt. Do you feel maybe after it'll be 11 years that would be a nice segment for him to move on? Only he knows, or no, we need to do everything we can to keep him for another World Cup journey?
My initial thought would be that he would move on after the World Cup. I have no grounds or evidence on that. That's just me saying it as myself. So I think longevity in the game and what he's had, particularly in Ireland, is pretty incredible. And I think that's why that performance was actually highlighted, that how he can get the best out of a playing group and players that have been in with him for many, many years. And that's all the evidence, I suppose, you need to know about what a top quality coach he is. Interesting how quickly Saracens distanced themselves from that. They were very quick to it. I don't know if there's any truth or not to it, but I'm sure the IRFU will do their utmost to keep him. He's a man of value. He gets someone I see on social media, someone likened him to Jack Charlton. Like he just gets the sort of the heartbeat of what it is to, I suppose, represent the Irish team. And he would be a huge loss, and you only saw that when he went away for a sabbatical with the Lions. So I'm sure that they will be doing their utmost to keep him, but the world is his oyster. And I don't know, again, the narrative might change with England. Would there be a position for him to go over there and take them over from Steve Borthwick and what he could
Why
do
is
there?
Your initial gut feeling, or maybe it was, that he would move on?
Why would it be? Because I think there's, I suppose, natural lifespans within jobs and life and everything like that. And he's put in an unbelievable shift. Now, as I said, I think the IRFU, anyone associated with Irish rugby, will want to keep him on, but he also needs to keep himself fresh, for the next part of his career as well. And you don't necessarily, if things start to turn, I'm not saying they will, but it's, I suppose, trying to stay ahead of the curve, isn't it? And being fresh and being relevant, and so my initial feel would be, after 11 years, that's a pretty good stint, and you would maybe naturally be ready to go on to another job. So but again, I could be completely wrong, Stu, because I've no evidence on that, but I just that's just what my feeling would be on it.
Perfect. Well, that's why I asked you, I suppose, Ian. And then as we go with Irish coaches, Interesting that Mike Prendergast has left Munster, or will leave Munster and go to Bath under Johan van Graan, who he's worked with before. Are you surprised there? And also, surely we want to keep, I know money, career-driven prospects change things, obviously, but would you not want to keep Irish coaches in the country? And also, do you think also he would still be maybe thinking about being overlooked for the head coach's job when Clayton McMillan come in?
So to answer, is it good to have Irish coaches still? Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's obviously not many spaces to accommodate every Irish coach, hence why you've got, so many good guys going abroad now. I think it's a real shame and pity that he's gone. I think it's a real loss for Munster. And I'm, bitterly disappointed that he is gone, because I really do, from having played against him, from hearing about how he is as a coach, I think he really is a top level coach, and I think there must be something amiss that has gone on, and it might be linked to what you just said at the end there. I think there may have been some fallout to that head coach role, and maybe for some reason, maybe integration then after that has made it sort of very difficult to continue. So and I'm sure Van Graan would have always been monitoring that. And listen, I'm sure Prendergast, the idea of hooking up again with Russell, had successful time with him, that's an appeal. But I think, from an Irish standpoint, he's got so much stock. He is still a relatively, he's not even 50. He's still young. He's still so much to give, I think, to Irish rugby. And, Munster's attack, has generally been, maybe it hasn't been firing the last few months. And maybe that's been aligned with the fact that Mike maybe has known that he's going away, or there's different offers on the table and all that, but when it's been firing, it's been good, and he's central to that. So I think it's bitterly disappointing from a Munster standpoint, bitterly disappointing from the Irish system, I think that that's definitely one that is, even though he was there, but is definitely one that has gotten away.
A last one on that. They won the URC under him as attack coach. And as you say, this year, the attack hasn't maybe been fluid, or what we are seeing, it hasn't been. I think that's factual. Maybe, if I'm surmising, but also my opinion, what doesn't matter, but I'm asking you this, his philosophy might be different to what Clayton McMillan sees, but more so like Johan van Graan and what's going to happen at Bath, even though they're champions and very good at what they do, but they add an extra layer over there with that.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, he brings with him a huge amount of experience. And listen, we don't know the dynamics of what goes on in the coaching setup in the provinces. I thought when Clayton McMillan got the post, I thought that was a brilliant appointment, and the start that Munster had, obviously it's sort of tailed off a bit recently, but they had an incredible start. So yeah, to be honest, Stu, it's an undertone of disappointment, because I just thought, as a collective, I thought that Munster coaching group was a really good coaching group. I thought they just had the nucleus now to really kick on, and I think you saw the start of that at the start of this year, just with the run, and just for whatever reason, it's just gone down. So yeah, listen, I hope that the door is not closed for him to come back. You would love to see him back in an Irish coaching capacity, club or provincial capacity, because I think he's too good a rugby brain, and to let go. I really do.
Final couple, back to the Six Nations. France obviously beat your old pals and old team Italy, but they hung in rightly, Italy. And Scotland and Murrayfield. Why do I think there's a potential banana skin there? Am I totally deluded here next Saturday?
No, I don't think you're deluded. I think it would go hand in hand with...
First time you've said that, I'm not deluded.
You're not deluded. No, you're not, Stu. Absolutely not. No, it would just sum up, I suppose, well, I suppose this fixture has summed up Scottish rugby, really, apart from the English one. In years gone by, you think of some of the historic victories in Paris over the last few years. And yeah, it is a banana skin for France. And like Scotland, that was a banana skin for them against Wales. And the fact, like, Darge was pushing, we won. That was it. We won. Wasn't the best. Yes, there were errors. Wales were always going to have a game where it's really at on its edge, on the scoreline. Even if I'm to go forward a little bit, even that that Wales Italy game is obviously one that they're going to be targeting as well. But that one was really when Wales are 25 up. Maybe previous Scottish teams, maybe I think that's what the point he's getting at, that wouldn't have clawed that gap back, and they did. So that was a real big moment for them. But the test just comes in consistency, and France are just they're on a different level. Referencing the Italy game, like Italy did not play badly at all. It was 19-8 with 10 minutes to go. Yes, there was a few injuries for France. You think mainly Jalibert and Ramos having to play 10, but you have to deal with injuries at international level. But as you're watching the game, you're like, they're really not, like, they're quite evenly matched here, but just the X factor and what they're able to produce off turnover, what they're able to produce off broken play is a joy, and is actually a blueprint for a lot of how maybe aspiring coaches, I would believe, should pursue. I mean, a lot of times there's fixation on set piece, which is obviously important, and don't get me wrong on that, but they're just bringing an extra layer of joy to the attack rather than the structured pull back passes, 3 phases, all that sort of stuff. They are just turnover ball, they're just on it. They almost see turnover ball as another set piece, I suppose. So yeah, in the blink of an eye, they're gone. And but this is an intriguing battle. You would find it hard to go against France just with the player power they have. Dupont seems to be just finding his rhythm again, even though it's amazing. Like, people are like, he hasn't hit his strides yet, but he's still he's still an 8-9 at most games.
Sorry, he's not 12 out of 10 every week.
Yeah, some of the things he did, just their power game. So yeah, it's an intriguing battle. Scotland would have no issues going into that game. I'm sure they'll go with confidence, but for them, it's just it is a consistency thing, trying to back up performances now. And yeah, I suppose to give mention for the England one, that there's a whole load of jeopardy on it, given the performance England had. And interestingly, like, since I've moved back, Stu, like, I mean, we speak loads, don't we? But like, this is the first time now people are going, well, could it? We spoke about this the last few weeks, where it was a couple of weeks ago for the Ireland game, we were going, this is the first time that people are actually asking the question genuinely, could Italy win? And now this is the same narrative now. Italy against England.
Must be great for you to hear that. I've actually never, I know we speak all the time, I've never actually asked you that straight. Like, to even hear those words, could Italy win?
Yeah, this is
dreamland.
Yeah, it hasn't really happened since 2013. Italy picked up 2 wins there, and it's been all doom and gloom really until 2022. But yeah, so it is good, and like, it's just asking the question that it's not a foregone conclusion. Again, you would still expect, given how England are, the players that they have, but momentum's a big thing. Italy won't, of course, the result is disappointing, but they will not have been dispirited by that performance. Dispirited maybe with a couple of injuries that have been picked up, but they'll still go with a huge amount of confidence, and I think really go and target this game a lot more than what was thought pre Six Nations, pre the tournament start. And yeah, it just makes it interesting that each game go, well, there's something on the line here, and it's not just a foregone conclusion that there's going to be a victory.
And quickly, a final one, is there anything you've really liked over the past couple of weeks, or surprised you, any player or any team?
No, I've enjoyed, I suppose, to be honest with you, I've really enjoyed the Six Nations. To be honest, it's probably the one I've enjoyed the most since actually retiring. And I really enjoy how France play. Would be a big thing. Just as a fan, love watching them. I really enjoyed sort of the narrative surrounding the Irish team and how there's a collectiveness whenever it was needed to put a big performance together. I'm going to enjoy seeing how England, given adversity now and their last two performances, how are they going to come back from that? And then obviously just the underdog stuff with Italy. I just think that there's so many narratives, and it's a multi-layered tournament this year, which is I'm just finding it really interesting as a fan and enjoying it. And on top of that, I think the games have been really good. Obviously, England, Wales, of that first game, obviously not much of a competition, but like I think generally the games, have been entertaining. They've been good. Standard of rugby's been pretty good. So yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and also I get to work with you, Stu, as well. That's probably the added bonus.
A blessing or a chore. Ian, so
sure,
many stories
absolutely.
still to write in this Six Nations. Thanks so much as ever, and we'll have you back on, of course.